Hey, what is going on? It is 12 noon on Friday, which means it's time for this week's episode of State of Real Estate, where today we're talking about what's going on out there, what might be changing in the marketplace, what type of changes are happening right before your eyes, and really more importantly, how do you adapt your business to be able to expand? And look, when I say expand your business, I don't mean exploit to your customers. And so a lot of this, how to expand during any sort of uncertain periods or when there's contractions or when there's price corrections or changes in the market, there's all kinds of changes that you need to be able to position your business so it can adapt to these fluctuating circumstances in the market. So that way your business, because look, here's what might have been happening. If we look at and we're going to talk about what's going on now and how that compares, how that ultimately is going to be affecting housing, what changes you might see going on in housing, and again, how to position yourself. It's crazy right now that there's a lot of people that are getting laid off and they're looking to do something new. And the decision to get laid off isn't your decision. There's a lot of people right now that are having to accept a decision that's not their own. Maybe you didn't get laid off from work, but you're having to accept this decision that might not be your own to stay isolated from people, to be able to not go to the beach, to be able to not go to a bar or a nightclub or all these places that are shut down here in Florida and throughout the entire country, really. So there's a lot of changes going on right now, a lot of factors that have been building up over time. The other day, on Wednesday, we were talking about this as well on Ask the Instructor. Because look, is it still possible to be successful in real estate? Absolutely. Trust me on this. But you have to be intentional about it. There's shifts going on right now, and these shifts going on means that there's new money being created because old money got deleted. Old money got deleted from the stock market. Old money got deleted from people's funds, whether that may be a 401k retirement fund or maybe some hedge fund. There's money that disappeared on the stock market, but now the government's turning around and they're stimulating the economy by basically creating new money. The Federal Reserve is incentivizing the creation of new money by lowering the interest rates. So there's a lot of factors going on right now, and this is the time for you to flex your economic knowledge, because that's what's going to help you position yourself to not only get through this, but to come out better, stronger, faster. Because look, if we're talking about things going on, okay, the stock market was going up and up and up and up and up, and then now it went down and down and down and down, and then it's it doesn't look exactly like this, but with this change here, this loss, this is something you can't control. You can't control the stock market. You can't control the economy. You can't control the outbreak. The government is trying to take control of the situation, but they're having a hard time taking control of this virus. So there's a lot of factors right now that are out of control, but remember, there's a lot of factors that are in your control. There's a lot of things it is that you can do to assess the situation, to observe what's going on, to be able to figure out, how do I adapt my business to, again, not just survive, but to thrive. Because if we're talking about your business, if your business is just the status quo, if your business is just average. This is a stress test right now if you're currently in business. If you're currently in business, you're probably having to adapt and make some changes. We're having to make major changes here at Tampa School of Real Estate because a big part of our business was in-person classes of large groups of people. And now all of a sudden we can't have large groups of people, so we're having to shift and adapt and adjust our business. We're not just laying down and waiting for this to all be over and things to go back to normal, because the normal that you knew is not going to be the new normal. The new normal will be different. The new normal is being created right now. Things will change. It's really just a question of how much things will change, but trust me, things are changing. And this is good. It's good that things change. Now, this virus outbreak, outbreak, that's not a good thing. But if you think beyond this and you think of the next steps and you think of what is going on right now, again with the shifts going on with money, with so much of this moving around, how do you get yours? How do you get your piece of that? Because the money's moving. The money's being forced to move in ways it does not normally move. Money is moving around. So again, you want to be intentional, because if your business just relies on being average, then that's what happens. When you're not in control, when you're asleep at the wheel, imagine you're flowing down a river. I love using this analogy. So imagine you're flowing down a river. We've got a little river here. And when you start at the mouth of this river, you get in your canoe, and it's really not even much of a river way up here. It's more of a stream. So you get in your little canoe, and you're kicked back, relaxing, floating down in your little canoe. Now, as you float down the river, and this river actually branches off with a bunch of other directions. But if you're just going with the flow, as they say, going with the flow, if you just go with the flow, if you just wait for things to happen to you rather than make things happen because of you, so you're going down this river, you're floating down the river, and then as you get about here, you start to hear rushing water. You start to hear what sounds like a waterfall. So you're kicked back in your little canoe, relaxing, just going with the flow, and you look up and you see there's Niagara Falls in front of you there. Now the question is, how soon did you figure this out? And are you prepared to steer yourself away from this? You know, look, if you have the proper guidance, if you had a map of this river, then you could be intentional about where it is that you go and where it is that you take your canoe or you take your business. When you have guidance, when you have a map, when you have something laid out to help you understand what's going on, to understand the lay of the land, to understand what possibly could be changing, and so how you could create a business that's able to succeed in a new economy that's being created, that's going to be different, a new version of the economy. Now, if you're, again, just floating down the river, just sitting in your canoe, by the time you get here, even if you do realize it soon enough where you could turn around, if you've been floating down this river your whole life, then you might not have the muscles needed to row yourself out of danger. And look, it seems almost like no one saw this coming. I'm sure there were people, sounding alarms and sounding warnings. But then there's always that little bit of us, is this just the news hyping things up? What's really going on? And then when things start to change and measures start being implemented, you're like, oh man, look, things are really changing right now. What do I do? You're stuck reacting rather than being proactive. So that's what you need to do right now. You need to be proactive. You need to make assessments of what's going on. You need to get in touch with your clients. Talk to them. The people that are actively working with you. Your past clients. When you've got past clients, check in on them. Hey, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do to help you? Think of that personal concern first. Because again, this is a personal business. And the deeper our relationships are with our clients, the more our clients will reciprocate value with us by providing us referrals and repeat business. So you guys need information right now. If you're here, you're looking for information, you're looking for answers. Now, we don't have all the answers, but we have a lot of experience. And we've seen this. We've seen things change. We've seen markets change. If you're looking closely, things are changing every single day, whether there's a virus or not, whether there's an outbreak or not, whether there's changes in the stock market or not. If you look close enough, things change every single day. They're just changing more rapidly right now because there's this catalyst in the environment that's accelerating this change. Again, I use that analogy of the earthquake the other day because, again, with an earthquake is when the tectonic plates, the surface of the earth, when it starts rubbing up against each other, Sometimes it gets locked in, and then the tension starts to build, and then when it finally releases, that's when you have a massive earthquake. So there's been a lot of things that have been changing over the years that maybe haven't been adopted quite as quickly. Video. I feel like we were late to the party with video. We didn't really start doing a lot of video content until like maybe 2015 or something like that. 5 years ago now. But there's still... Look, if you've got a real estate business and you're not utilizing video right now to reach more people, because there is still ways to communicate with people. Your business is about communication and relationships. And you could still have communication and relationships while this whole social distancing thing is going on. We have the technology. It exists. You just have to use it now. We've had electronic signatures for years. We've had FaceTime for years. We've had Skype for years. But these might not be tools you are using in your everyday business. Whereas now, they are. You might be exploring new options for lockboxes. That's a huge market right now, I think, that's untapped. Companies like Open Door, they could do really well right now if they quit just trying to replace real estate agents and they just provided a service to real estate agents as well. They'd probably realize there's a huge industry of businesses that provide services to real estate professionals to be able to do their business more efficiently. Or in a situation we have like this, maybe this now becomes more critical to actually doing business. Any businesses right now that provide remote services, they're doing extremely well right now. Despite what's going on in the world, they're a company that's in very high demand right now because of the changes in the environment. Now, I'm sure this isn't telecommunication companies unleashing a virus on the world to try to get people to sell them. No, they just were prepared for the future. And in a future where there's greater distances between people. Just think of this whole kind of like global workforce. Maybe you're looking to hire an assistant for your business. Maybe your business has a lot going on. And you've got to now figure out, maybe you've got more pieces to pick up right now and you need some help doing that. There's people right now that have lost their jobs or are going to lose their jobs that people have already been informed. We've had a lot of people calling us at the school saying that they just got informed that they're getting laid off and they're trying to figure out something new. And they're wondering, they've been thinking about real estate. And look, if you've been thinking about real estate, if you've been mentally preparing yourself for real estate but you haven't done anything with it yet, now is your opportunity. Again, you could just take this as something that happens to you, or you could make something intentional out of this. You could cause your life to be completely different than what it was by taking advantage of this shift. Not taking advantage of again, the virus. I'm not saying to go out there and, go stockpile hand sanitizer or something like that. Not only is that unethical, but then the government comes down and says, hey, you got to go donate all your hand sanitizer. So look, that's just stupid. And those are short-term little fads. I was joking with my wife. I was like, all right, well, we got to figure out how to make some boutique hand sanitizer. But you go search on Google and you'll find that type of stuff right now. Because there are shifts and changes going on. But not just in the things people immediately need right now. Like, yes, their food and their water. Yeah, the water, number one, most important probably. Food, probably number two. The health and well-being is somewhere on that list up there, depending on the situation, how prioritized that is. But something right there at the top of the list is shelter. I just saw something that California is looking into ways to get California has like 150,000 people that are homeless. And they're trying to shelter them right now because they know that people that don't have shelter are going to be really in a bad situation. So shelter is still something we need, and shelter is something you need a license to sell. And there's a lot of opportunities in this need for shelter. Some people want nicer shelters. Some people want shelters that provide better room for their children. Maybe there's a lot of people that might be switching to working remotely now that might permanently work remotely. Maybe if we're talking about shifts in real estate too, residential real estate, there'll be some changes, but I don't think it's going to be anything too major with residential real estate. Not at least for a few years. We could talk about why, but we'd have to go into a lot of details. I don't know if we'd have time for all that here, but residential real estate, as it looks like right now, probably not going to be affected too much like this. If anything, the demand's probably going to end up going up for residential real estate. Despite everything going on, demand will probably increase for residential real estate because there's probably, again, the world is experiencing this shift and change in remote, in teleconferencing, telestreaming, telephones. But it's now becoming something that's being adopted much quicker because of the situation. And what that's going to do for office real estate, office buildings have been hurting for years. And that's going to be a major shift. So again, there's money moving around. There's changes happening. There's changes going on. Now, if you're worried, if you're wondering, hey, is this like 2008? Is the whole housing market going to crash? This is nothing like 2008. In 2008, the financial crisis, the root of the problem was the financial industry, the financial lending industry. People would buy 3-4 homes when they could barely afford one, and the lenders just looked the other way. Guess what? They don't look the other way today. They don't just take it for what you say. They verify, they fact check, they require documentation. So the mortgage industry is extremely healthy right now, and with what the Federal Reserve has been doing to decrease interest rates, it's becoming cheaper to buy real estate that's price has not changed. Real estate is slow to respond to supply and demand. So it takes time for real estate prices to change, and that's why real estate accelerates at the rate of inflation. And speaking of inflation, if you guys know anything about inflation, inflation is when there's more dollars created, when there's a higher supply of dollars. Because when there's a higher supply of dollars, the dollar becomes worth less. And so with that higher supply of dollars because of inflation, and you might wonder, well, is inflation going on right now? Absolutely. Now, there's a lot going on, and it's going to be really hard to tell exactly everything and which way everything went down to the last detail until this is all over, until years later when historians go back and review what happened in 2020 at the start of the 2020s. Think about that. Right now, people are going to look back in history books and see something about the coronavirus and how, not just the virus itself, because I think with the measures that are being taken, that it seems like there's fairly extreme measures, at least compared to our normal standard of living and normal quality of life, fairly extreme measures that have been implemented to control this. So the disease, hopefully that doesn't turn into anything crazy. I don't think it will. If everything continues going, who knows, we'll see more. I don't have the answers. I don't want to say I have the answers because I don't, but hopefully that's what it is. But even if it's not, again, the world will keep spinning. It's going to keep going around. It's going to keep moving. There will still be a need for real estate. This is something that's temporary. It's just a question of how long is it going to take to go through this. And not really how long does it take to go through this, but are you able to last? And how long can you last? And really building on that, moving into that other direction, not just how long can you last, how soon can you make changes to make adjustments so that way you're prepared more than ever for success. So look, if you guys have questions on anything, if there's any particular topics, because look, the market's changing. The market's changing. Any sort of virtual technology is going to become much more prevalent in not only real estate, but many industries. You know, we just did a webinar on Wednesday evening, and we did this webinar on virtual tours. So that way you guys could understand how you could show real estate without having to actually be there, which take everything that's going on right now in the world out of the equation and think of how much time that could save you of not having to take somebody to a property because they could get the overall look and feel for it as if they're there. Just minus, really kind of like the smells and stuff like that. They could do that without having to drive there, without having to go there. That's the future. That's been the future for years. It's just the earthquake hit. The earthquake hit, and it's forcing the adoption of this, at least temporarily. At least temporarily, because again, yes, things are changing. Things are changing, but how much are they really changing? That's going to be the question. And depending on how long this goes on for, and again, how much it has really changed, there are going to be changes. But look, if this were all to end today, if this were all over today, there probably wouldn't be much changes at all. If it were to all completely be over by the end of next week, there probably wouldn't be any changes at all. But this is something that's going to be a thing probably at least a couple months. At least that it's a thing. Maybe we're not having to, maybe places of business finally start to open back up again, but it's still something people are thinking about. For at least some time, they'll still be thinking about it. But as that becomes more of a distant memory, and this is, again, it's just a question of when. You might have heard people talking for years about the stock market crashing, and you say that the stock market's going to crash enough, eventually it does crash. These things happen. So, again, there's cycles. If you look at economic cycles of the stock market, it just goes up and down. It just goes up and down. It just goes back and forth. And it eventually goes higher and higher and higher. That's what happens. That's what's always happened. That's what'll keep happening, because if you really look in detailed and closely at everything that goes on in our economic system, it doesn't happen by accident. It happens intentionally. It happens on purpose. And again, there's all these factors that we can't control, but there's a lot of factors that we can control. Like, again, thinking of how to plan out your business, how to be able to figure out these new things. So that's why we did that webinar on Wednesday, to be able to get you guys information about virtual touring and all that information, so that way you know how to showcase property remotely. Maybe you're interested in learning more about real estate investment, so that way you could better serve investors. Because investors, a lot of times, they don't even go to look at the property in person. They might just send you to look at the property, and you send them some pictures. Maybe you show them just a virtual tour, and they're like, oh, wow, that's great. Look, virtual tours, they're going to become more prevalent, and they're probably going to become not that expensive to get, because economies of scale are going to increase the virtual tour industry. There's already have been new businesses that have came up overnight for virtual tours, because people have realized that have the capability to do this. Oh, hey, realtors want to be able to showcase real estate still. There's still real estate closing. When we were looking at those properties on Zillow, over the last week, there was thousands of views on one of those properties, just over the last 7 days. And that's how people are looking at real estate now. People are still looking at real estate. They might not be doing it as in person as much, but they're doing it more online if they're not doing it in person as much, and you've got to be there. So if you want to learn how to advertise on social media better, look, we've got a lot of knowledge, and we want to prioritize this knowledge to what's going to help you the most, because we want to help you get through this. And not just get through it, but be able to constantly expand your business. Again, to build you into a machine that, regardless of what goes on outside of you, that you constantly grow your business every single day. So, get in contact with us. You can send us a text message. Our phone number is 813-333-2676. Let us know in the comments, what can we help you with? Maybe that's just studying for your exam. If you need to study for your exam, call us up. We've got the best study tools that exist for the Florida real estate exam. Call us 813-333-2676. We've got a great package bundle deal, all available on demand, so you could access remotely anywhere it is that you are in the world. You could take advantage of our study tools. We've got a bunch of online courses. We're starting live streaming of our pre-licensing courses just this week, just earlier on Wednesday night. It was late Wednesday night that we got approval from the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation to be able to offer our pre-licensing course via live stream. So we've actually got a live streamed pre-licensing course starting this Monday. You don't even have to be in Florida to attend this. You can attend this anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. My dog walker's in Spain right now. Shout out, Tim, if you're watching. He's in Spain right now, and he's been there for weeks now, and he's probably not coming home anytime soon because of all of this quarantine and restrictions that are put in place right now. But he's having a good time. He's enjoying life still. So look, there's still... The world's going to keep turning. The economy's going to keep going. There's all kinds of panic going on right now. That's a great word to describe what's going on right now, is panic. But here's the root of panic. Here's the root cause of panic. It's uncertainty. Do you feel uncertain? To some degree, I still feel uncertain. I don't know all the details. You don't know all the details. Nobody knows all the details. Nobody has a crystal ball and knows exactly what's going to happen. But what you can do is you can assess the situation, observe as much detail and fact as you can, and think about how this impacts your business. Don't think of how you feel about this. This is where people who get wrapped up in politics, in my opinion, they really distract themselves from being able to grow and better themselves. Because they start thinking of the political side of this. Don't worry about politics. Don't worry about whether or not you like the president. Don't worry about whether or not you like whoever that makes these decisions. Don't worry about whether or not you like the governor or maybe your mayor or whoever it is that's making decisions. Don't worry about whether or not you like them. That's not important. It doesn't matter if you like them. They care if you like them, but you shouldn't care whether or not you like them. You don't need to like politicians, but what you do need to do is observe what's happening and what's going on so you, again, can be proactive rather than reactive. You know what's really scary? When you're late to the party, when the race has already started an hour ago, and this is a race to the death. You don't want to be in last place. You want to be ahead of the curve. That's it. All the government restrictions that are going on are trying to get ahead of the curve. They're trying to minimize this so this doesn't become a bigger thing than what it is. And you need to be doing the same thing with your business. And maybe you don't have a business. Maybe you're in a position where what you've been doing to earn a living is not controlled by you. And there's some people that had a very unfortunate awakening to that fact by finding out that, hey, their company can no longer employ them. The airline industry right now, I heard that Delta is laying off 10,000 employees. 10,000 people. And they're not the only ones. There's going to be a lot of people that are looking for something new to do. And if that's you, if you're in that situation, then real estate might be an option. When we tell people we started Tampa School of Real Estate back in 2007, people say, no way. You started in 2007? That was right at the start of the whole financial crisis. Yeah, that's when we started Tampa School of Real Estate. Our first class had like 2 people in it. Not necessarily because of the financial crisis. That was definitely a big part of it. But more so because that was our first class. We were brand new as a school. We'd been in the real estate industry and even in the real estate education industry prior to that. But Tampa School of Real Estate was founded in 2007. And we founded out of that same idea that, hey, this is an uncertain time. This is very familiar to us because we started Tampa School of Real Estate in a very uncertain time for real estate. And it's nowhere near as uncertain for real estate, at least right now, as it was then. Trust me when I say that. Real estate was much more uncertain back in 2007 and 2008. And real estate was part of the problem. Right now, real estate isn't the problem. The problem is this virus. And yes, there's ripple effects. There's changes that have happened that you again need to be able to adapt to. But overall, we're going to get up, we're going to brush ourselves off. It's just a question of how long are we down for and what are we doing to fight to get up when there's some sort of contraction. Because look, you've got to prepare your business. You've got to prepare your life and your financial future for there to be changes like this that are not expected. Whether it's an epidemic, whether it's the stock market, whether it's your company becoming obsolete, whether it's your job no longer being necessary, whether it's automation. Look at all the things people have been talking about for years about technology. And think of that. Think of if we had the robots. Think of if a grocery store was completely run by robots. Would that have fared better through all like this toilet paper panic? Could the robots have made sure that people are only able to buy so many toilet papers rather than people crashing and fighting over toilet paper? These changes are going to be accelerated by changes in the economy, by changes in the market. Businesses are being creative right now to be able to adapt. And what they're doing is they're drawing in new lines of business. There's restaurants that would not offer delivery that now offer delivery. There's restaurants that wouldn't want to be a part of Uber Eats for whatever reason. For whatever reason it might just be laziness, because that's what it feels like when you realize you needed something like that. When you realize you should have been prepared for something like that. But the problem is, you can't know what's always coming. You can't always know what might change and what you have to do to change. So you've got to pay attention first and foremost. You've got to observe. You've got to look at what's out there and you've got to seek information. We're going to take a quick break, get the camera all warmed back up. It's about to shut down on us. Stick with us. I'm John Christmer. You're watching State of Real Estate.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. And welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I was just talking to my video guy, Logan, the video genius here. He was the one doing the webinar. And he was like, man, Delta laying off 10,000 employees. And he's like, well, do you think like they're going to go try to get their job back after this is all over? And look, you might, if you've experienced this personally, you might know how this goes. When companies lay off employees, they're not laying off the cheap ones. They're usually laying off the most expensive ones. The ones that have maybe been there for too long. The ones that are maybe a little too set in their ways. The ones that are maybe not as prepared and well adapted to handle the new, or at least that might be their interpretation of it. Who knows? Maybe they're just laying off whoever. But that's usually what companies do when they lay off people is they cut the people that make the most money and bring in new people to do that same job for less. Because when people lose jobs, people go looking for new jobs. And if you're looking for just a job right now, you're up for a lot more competition. If you're an employer right now, you're probably going to be able to get cheaper labor. If you look, there are companies hiring right now because they could get labor cheaper because more labor is becoming available. It just goes back to the supply and demand. And if you don't like that, if you don't want to be part of that cycle, you need to be the employer. At least starting by employing yourself. And maybe your job isn't going anywhere, but maybe you want to have a safety net. Maybe you want to have another tool in your belt so you're prepared for whatever the world throws at you. Real estate could be that tool. If you've got a real estate license already, maybe you're currently in a job and you've got your real estate license and you're maybe thinking, maybe I should focus on my real estate a little bit more so that way I can, in case something happens to my regular job here, I could take control of real estate. You know, a part of being a self-employed person, when you employ yourself, is you control a lot more than you would when you're employed by somebody else. When you're employed by somebody else, if they've got to cut you, if they've got to lay you off, that's not your decision. You're not making that decision. Whereas if you're self-employed, that is your decision. You're probably not going to fire yourself, but you could if you wanted to. And you're the only one that could do that. No one else could fire you. And that having that control, having that freedom alone is why there's a lot of people that do get a real estate license. And you maybe look at them and they're like, well, they're not really doing much with the real estate license. But look, real estate actually is pretty fun to do. And there's plenty of people with a real estate license that don't want to get rich with a real estate license. They want to be able to earn a living to be able to enjoy their family. But if that's how you've been approaching real estate, when real estate changes like this, that's where you've got to flip the switch. If you've been asleep at the wheel, now is the time to flip the switch, to turn this on. And maybe you don't have a real estate license yet. Maybe you've been thinking about a real estate license yet. And maybe it's not that you're asleep at the wheel, but you're in the back seat. Because that's what it is when you're employed somewhere. You're not at the wheel, you're in the back seat. You're watching what that person at the wheel is doing. And that person at the wheel might say, hey, you need to get out of the car. And since they're at the wheel, they could kick you out of the car. But when you're at the wheel, yeah, it could be scarier. But imagine you're at the wheel learning to drive this new car called entrepreneurship, this new car called your real estate license. And if you're having to figure this out on your own, you might crash. But we don't want you to crash. We're going to be there in the passenger seat with you. Or maybe you can stick us in the back seat if you want. Just put us somewhere there in the car with you so that way we could tell you how to drive this new car. If you're new to entrepreneurship, I completely understand. There's a lot you've got to learn to figure out to be able to shift your mindset from that of an employee to that of a business owner. And this can be a scary time for business owners, but it's until you get certain about things. And despite all the changes going on, I would take being a business owner any day than just sitting there and not being able to really contribute much to the outcome of my situation. And that's really, I think, what's the most powerful thing about being able to have a career in real estate, have a real estate business, is having that freedom. That if you want to produce more, you just go produce more and you get more. If you want to take a break because there's maybe there's not a global crisis, but maybe you've got a family crisis. This global crisis, maybe it's not impacting you much at all. Maybe the worst thing that's happening to you is you're having to stay home from work. So maybe that global crisis isn't affecting you at all. But it's not always a global crisis. Sometimes it's a you crisis. Sometimes it's your family crisis. Sometimes it's some sort of crisis that's much closer to home that doesn't affect the entire planet. And you need to make sure you're in a position to control that as best as possible. And really be able to control your contribution as much as possible. Because again, if you want to go make more money in your current job, maybe you're on a commission. Maybe you get paid commission. Maybe you sell cars. Maybe you sell insurance. Maybe you sell something and you earn a commission. You're in more control there. But with a real estate license, you are, almost always when you're working under a broker, an independent contractor. So literally you are your own business within that business. But you are the one that drives that. And you can grow it larger than yourself. Now you might wonder, well, how do I do that? How do I build a team? We can help you do that. There's a lot to it. And first you've got to be able to take care of yourself. That's something we've got to keep in mind right now with everything going on. Yes, others need help as well, but think of what they always tell us on the airlines, on the planes. Put your mask on first before assisting others. You've got to put on your financial mask before assisting others. You've got to get yourself prepared and ready for anything before assisting others. So it's not selfish. It's selfless. To be able to put yourself in a position to where you could benefit others. But if you're not in a good position, you're not helping anybody. Think of, and this might be a bad analogy here, but think of somebody that is sick. They're not able to help others. They're not able to help others. They need others to help them. And it might not just be a sickness of the body. It might be a sickness of the wallet. It might be a sickness of a bank account. It might be a sickness of your financial state. Because if your financial state is unhealthy right now, that's where you need to take action. You need to take action to take control of your future. So that way, these external changes don't impact you as much. And when external changes do occur, you're able to assess what's going on and be able to take the necessary steps to grow and develop further. So look, there's a lot going on right now. A lot of information out there and a lot of unknowns. But what you've got to do is take the information that you can and really focus on the information that applies to your business. Focus on seeking out information that you could use to grow your business. I'm not talking about just constantly watching the news, because you watch the news right now, all that's going to do is just give you anxiety. Watching the news right now will give you anxiety. Listen to what they tell you to do. If you're sick, stay home and all the other stuff like that. Do everything they tell you to do, but you don't need to obsess over it. You don't need to constantly watch that, because that's just going to make you think about the problem more rather than thinking about your problem. Don't think of the global problem. Now, if you're a scientist or a doctor or something like that, then yeah, do your part to help out with this global crisis. But for those of us that are not medically trained, I'm not medically trained, way too squeamish. I don't like blood. I don't like hospitals. I don't want to get sick because I don't want to end up in those situations ever. I'm not a fan of medical stuff. So I can't do that. I'm not that type of person. I commend the people that are on the front lines doing that. But for those of us that are not that person, for those of us that don't have the skills, that didn't put in the time to learn how to help people in this situation, you could do your part to help the economy. You know, there's all this talks of like war powers and things like that, and like, oh no, are we going to war? We're already at war. We're fighting this virus. That's what we're fighting right now. It's an enemy we've never really fought before. It's an enemy that we've been attacked by before, but this is where we're being attacked globally by this little thing, this little spore, this little coronavirus. And during this time, during the wartime, you've got to do your part. You've got to do your part to continue to, because if it weren't for entrepreneurs right now, if it weren't for entrepreneurs being creative right now, the economy would take a lot longer to recover. But because of entrepreneurs being creative and because of them capitalizing on the technology that's available to be able to move information, that's where you've got to start. If you don't know, if you don't have the answers, you need to get information. You need to get information, but again, that's not the news. You need to get information that's going to lead you to a better financial future. You need to get information that's going to get you prepared for anything. So that way, you know, something like this happens and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go isolate on my island. I saw a news story the other day of somebody that they're isolating on their island, that they own an entire island and they're just going to stay out there. They're probably pretty safe. Now, you might say, oh, well, I can't get an island, but what if you could? What if that was possible? And it might not be possible right this second. You know, if islands are on the market right now, they're probably a very high price. The demand is probably increased for isolated islands. But that doesn't mean that you can't prepare yourself for the future. Yeah, you've got to do what you've got to do right now to make sure that you're safe, you know, if you're healthy still, that you're taking precautions to ensure that you're still healthy, because if you're not healthy, if your body is not capable, then you're not going to be able to do a lot more. Well, you might have a very powerful mind, but that mind can be held back by the limitations of the body, especially if you get sick. So definitely keep yourself healthy. Wash your hands, do all the stuff they've been telling you, keep your hand sanitizer, go get like some hydrogen peroxide or rubbing alcohol or whatever you gotta kind of cook up in your like home sanitizer meth lab thing. So, you know, figure that out so you can keep yourself safe. And look, I kid about this just to make light about the situation. This is a serious situation, but again, you've got to think of how you could help you. Sitting at home, watching others suffer without doing anything, or thinking about the idea of others suffering without doing anything, well, that's not right. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing something productive. And if that productiveness doesn't include being able to help those people, because again, we're not all medically trained. We can't all be on the front lines. I'd probably do more harm than good if they stuck me up there like screening patients or something like that. I'd probably get more people sick because I don't know what I'm doing with that. That's not my specialty. That's not my skill. You guys look at me. I know a lot of you guys look up to me and the information that I have about real estate, but that's my area of expertise. If you were to ask me about health and wellness, I don't know. I look to other experts for information on that. I know a little bit about health and wellness, but I'm not a doctor. So yeah, take care of that. But then think about at the same time the health of your financial future and what you could do to capitalize on the changes that are happening right now so you could be the new, better thing. Because that's what's going to happen right now. Better will emerge. What used to work that was kind of just getting by, that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt right now. But what will thrive right now is people being able to provide better options and better solutions to problems we've already had and maybe problems that are bigger than what they used to be. So think of that, start planning out your business. What we're doing is we're starting a mentor program here at Tampa School of Real Estate. So this mentor program, we know you guys need information. And we want to get that information to you to be able to help you grow your real estate business. So we're starting this mentor program. So if you sign up right now for our live stream, if you're thinking about getting started in real estate, if you've been thinking about getting started in real estate, if you've been thinking about it and all of a sudden you've got more reason for whatever reason to start a career in real estate, we want to help you through that. But we know you have questions. We know you might be uncertain about things, so we want to help you. We want to hold your hand through this process. That's why we're starting a 90-day mentor program. We're starting a 90-day mentor program to go along with this live stream pre-licensing course. That's also going to be live streamed, and we're going to meet with you weekly. We're going to meet with you weekly to help you develop your plan to hit the ground running in real estate. We're not just here to help you get a real estate license, because look, if you were just paying us money just to get a license and that license didn't do anything for you, well, that's a scam. If that license doesn't help you, then why'd you waste your time getting it? But that license can help you extremely if you know how to use it. And we want to help you know how to use it. We've already got courses. Your post-licensing course that's required for your first renewal really dives deep into how to use that license to make money. Because your pre-licensing course to get the license, what the major concern of the pre-licensing course in the Florida Real Estate Commission, and that's why we had such a hard time getting this approved for a live streaming credit, to be able to do this via live stream, because they want to ensure that you know the laws and the rules. That's what they're primarily concerned with to get your license. But then for renewal, that's where we talk about things that are more important to actually use your license now that you have it. So we've already had that post-licensing course, and you haven't taken post-licensing yet. They just extended the deadline an extra month because of all this going on here. The DBPR added an extra 30 days, so if your deadline was March 31st of this year, it only affects the March 31st, 2020 deadline. Your deadline is no longer March 31st of 2020, it's now April 30th of 2020. So they've given you that extension. If you haven't done your post-licensing yet, we've got a great self-paced, on-demand online program to get that knocked out for you. And again, going through this program, the first course is business planning. Both our classroom and our online course talk about business planning. And now more than ever, business planning is extremely important for your business. And that's really one of the things we're going to be focusing on in this mentor program. Yes, it's important that you pass your exam. We're there to help you study and pass your exam as well. But we're adding this mentor program as a free bonus if you sign up for our live stream on Monday to show that we're in this together, that we're here to help you through this, that we're here to answer your questions, to help you figure out a way to be successful as things change. We're constantly improving ourselves every day, and we want to help you do that as well. So that's why we're starting this mentor program. It's a 90-day program. We're going to be meeting weekly to help you get the most out of your real estate license, despite what might be going on in the market, whether the market's booming or the market's busting. There will always be up and down cycles in the stock market, in real estate, in everything. There's always cycles. It's very cyclical. You look over long enough history and you'll see these patterns. And it's not the question of is the market going up or is the market going down. The question is, how do I respond? How do I be proactive so I'm ready for whenever the market does go up or when the market does go down? When you've got the tools in your belt, that's all you got to do is pull it out. You pull out your drill, you pull out your screwdriver, you pull out your tape measure. I mean, maybe the tape measure is probably the only one you're using as a realtor. Maybe one of those fancy laser tape measures if you're like measuring a room or something. But figurative tools that, if real estate prices go down, people panic when real estate prices go down, especially in the real estate industry. But you don't need to panic. You just need to shift. If real estate prices go down, you just need to target investors, because investors open their eyes more. Some investors, a lot of investors actually, have been taking a back seat these past couple of years. A lot of investors have been taking a back seat the past couple of years, maybe picking up a deal here and there when it is a really good deal, but good deals have been harder to come by because the market's been doing so well. And so far, pricing hasn't really been affected by the real estate market, but again, real estate's slow to respond to supply and demand. So, but even if it does change, because it's not a question of if it'll change, it's a question of when it changes. And maybe it's changing now, or maybe it's not changing for another 5 years, or maybe another 10 years, or maybe another 20 years. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of how long does it take? When will it be here? When will there be a correction? How deep will that be? And how are you prepared to be able to shift your business to what all of a sudden becomes the new demand? To where, I need to target investors more. Or, people are getting laid off, so maybe there's more foreclosures or short sales. Well, I can't do foreclosure or short sales. Those are too complicated. Sure you can. You just got to figure them out. You just got to learn it. They're not that difficult. They're more difficult than a regular transaction, of course, but once you know what you're doing, you could bang through those things like nothing. And again, there's the demand just shifts. The demand just shifts. And again, looking at these factors, looking at these things that you notice, and it doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. But you want to be prepared just in case that does happen. You want to have the strategy laid out before you even make your first move. And that's what business planning is all about. So that's what we're here to help you do. Look, that's about all the time we've got for today on State of Real Estate. If you've guys got questions about anything, whether it's questions about getting your real estate license or questions about what's going on right now, the market or anything like that, send that in to us. Give us so we know what information we need to provide you. You just need information. That's what's most important. You need help. You need information to get through this. We need help and we need information to get through this, and we're getting help and getting information to go through this, and we want to provide that same service to you, to help you, to get you the information that you need to mentor and guide you through. Because look, despite what's going on in the world, getting your real estate license, starting a new business, starting a new career, you need mentorship and guidance anyways. So this is just really causing us at Tampa School of Real Estate to say, hey, we've really got to step up our game. We've really got to do more to accelerate growth faster than ever with our agents that are coming out of Tampa School of Real Estate, because we want to show you that, hey, look, despite what goes on in the world, you can still be successful. You just have to be smart about it. You just have to adapt your business and adjust your business accordingly. So look, that's about all the time we've got for today. If you've got questions, call us, text us, leave comments, whatever it is, 813-333-2676. You could leave us a comment on Facebook, send us a message there or through YouTube or however ways. We open up all lines of communication. And if that's not something you've done in your business, that's something you should be doing. You should open up as many lines of communication as possible, because people want to communicate in uncertain times. And people are forcing to communicate differently because of what's going on. So you got to adapt. You got to change. Get in communication. We're in communication. Let us help you out. We're here to get you through this. This is just temporary. The world isn't ending. It's going to keep spinning. It's a temporary thing. It's just a question of how long it's going to take to things get back to normal. And when it does come back to normal, what's now different that we've got to make sure that we're prepared for whatever's different. So look, that's all the time we've got for today. If you guys got questions, look, we're going to start doing more of these live streams to deliver information out there to you guys. So whatever information you need, whether it's a specific topic, maybe we could bring in a certain expert like we had about the virtual tours. If maybe you guys want to hear about what's going on the financial side with lending, or how this is affecting other things, or maybe some brokers you want to hear from, whoever it is, let us know so we can deliver that information for you. We have the connections. We have this at our disposal. We just need to know what you want help with, what you want to learn, what do you need to learn, what is the problems that you're facing, so we can help you solve those. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help you solve your problems so you can build your dream real estate career. So look, thank you guys for tuning in today. I'll see you next week.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.